All right, we have one chapter left to read in this group of chapters in the one and only Ivan. And then we're going to finish all of the work on our slides for these chapters. So we're on page 209, ready to read puzzle pieces. Now remember, Ivan had gotten very angry in the chapter before. He was pounding his chest. He did the chest beats. And had Julia or Mac ever heard that before? No. Did it scare them?
Yeah.
All right, so puzzle pieces. After a long while, I grow quiet. I sit. It's hard work being angry. Julia looks at me with wide, disbelieving eyes. I'm panting. I'm a little out of shape. What the heck was that? George demands. Something's really wrong, Julia says. I've never seen Ivan act this way. He seems to be calming down, thank goodness, George says. Julia shakes her head. He's still upset, Dad. Look at his eyes. My pictures are scattered all over the floor like huge autumn leaves. What a mess, George says, sighing. Wish I hadn't bothered sweeping tonight. Do you think Ivan's okay? Julia asks. Probably just a temper tantrum, George says. He reaches under a chair to retrieve a brown and red picture. Can't say I blame the guy stuck in that tiny cage all these years. Julia starts to answer, but then she freezes. She cocks her head. She stares at her feet where my pictures lie in disarray. Dad, she whispers, come see this. I'm sure he's another Rembrandt, George says. Let's pick these up and get going, Jules. I'm exhausted. Dad, she says again. Seriously, look at this. George follows her gaze. I see blobs, many, many blobs, along with the occasional swirl. Please, can we go home now? That's an H, Dad. Julia kneels down, straightening one picture, then another. That's an H, and here, she grabs more pictures. Put this one here, and I don't know, maybe that one. You have an E. George rubs his eyes. I hold my breath. Julia is running now. She picks up one picture, sets down another. It's like a puzzle, Dad. This is something. It's a word, maybe words, and a picture of something, a giant picture. Jules, George says, this is crazy. But he's looking at the floor too, wandering from picture to picture and scratching his head. H, Julia says. E, O. Ho? Julia chews her lower lip. H, E, O. And that looks a lot like an I. H, E, O, I. George writes in the air with his fingers. I, E, O, H. Not the letter, an actual I. And that's a foot, or maybe a tree, and a trunk. Dad, I think that's a trunk. Julia runs to my window. Ivan, she whispers, what did you make? I stare back. I cross my arms. This is taking much longer than I thought it would. Humans. Sometimes they make chimps look smart. All right, that's the end of that group of chapters. All right, so now, looking back at slide 1, look at the sequencing and think about what you need to fill in for the rest of those to complete the 1 through 5. Because they're not in the right order at all, are they? Okay, with the next amount of time, because this is going to take a little while for you to complete, you're going to, and it doesn't matter what order you complete the rest of these in, okay? But you're going to compare and contrast Julia and Mac. Now, Mac is not her dad, right? Who is Mac? The owner of the mall, right? Okay, so thinking about those two people. Outside here, these are what's different about them. This middle part is what's kind of the same about both of them. Then looking at slide 2, can you think of another emotion that Ivan feels? It doesn't maybe say it, but maybe you can make an inference based on what's happening. Like, after he's angry, do you think he's still feeling angry as Julia is starting to see the different letters? Or do you think maybe his emotion changes a little bit in that time? So you could write down a different emotion that you think he might be having. So that one would be your opinion, right, on the emotion, and then tell why you think he's feeling that emotion. Does that make sense? Yes or no?
Yes.
You're going to have to catch up on reading, Jenny. Okay, 2. How and why does Ivan get so angry in these chapters? What does he do to show his anger? And how do Julia and George respond to this? So we read about him getting so angry, what he does to show his anger, and then today we read about George and Julia, how they responded to that anger of Ivan's. The next thing you're going to do is predict what you think will happen next in the book. Okay? And then in this part, because Ivan can't talk and Ivan can't actually write a letter or say words to or he's going to pretend like, or we're going to, oh my gosh, I'm struggling. We're going to pretend like he can write a letter to Julia telling her what message he wants to give her about what you think he would say in this letter. Okay? So I'm going to give you I'm going to give you 25 minutes to work on this. Actually, we only have 30 minutes of reading left. So I'm going to give you, well, now it would be like 28 minutes left to work on this. If you finish it, go ahead and turn it in. If you don't finish it, you're going to have to get it finished when we have free time or something throughout our day, because it needs to be turned in, okay? After you finish that, then why don't you read a book that you have while others are finishing theirs? You may sit around the room to work if you would like. Jenny, it might be good for you to go back and read what you missed out on yesterday so that you're more caught up with where we're at, okay? All right, any questions? Haley?
For the comparing one, where we compared Julia and Mac,
Uh-huh.
did they have to be like based on their attitude and stuff?
Anything about the two characters, okay? And it doesn't have to just be from these chapters. It can be from everything we've read about them so far. Raylan? All right, no other questions? Okay, go ahead and get the work for chapters 87 through 98 completed then.